Welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us for this last minute crypto happy hour. This is Crypto Ed, and yeah, I'm glad to have all you guys here, especially with what just happened this past weekend. Everybody's probably wondering like what happened, like how did we get here, what can we do? Is this the end? Is like where to go from here? How to make the most of this, right? So we are a gathering of a number of meetup groups and Facebook groups and communities, and yeah, we want to just bring people together, have good dialogue, and learn from one another. So the schedule is fourfold. First, we do the panel happy hour chat, and then we do like a rapid fire analysis, and then we do like after hours hangout, right? And before we go deeper, I do want to make it clear that this is just a gathering of people who love crypto. Think of us as like a bunch of guys and girls like having a drink at a pub, talking crypto. Like nobody here is claiming to be a financial advisor or professional. So, and we prefer to keep it that way so that there's no bias and such. And if you want to go into crypto, you want to take action as a result of the meeting, you're doing it at your own risk and do your own due diligence. So, I mean, a couple of things, news story from last week, right? We may have heard, right? China banning crypto for like probably the fifth time again. Like, this is like the same ban from 2013, like Reuters just posting it out, right? We have like, and then since then, all the banks start saying, oh yeah, we're dumping crypto, right? You have like people, you guys were here last week. We also showed this about how people who were supposed to receive dollars, they received Bitcoins instead. So instead of $10, they got 10 Bitcoin. And if you've been sent like 10 Bitcoin by accident, the right thing to do is you should be returning it, right? But there are some people who thought, okay, they thought this was a windfall. They thought that maybe consumer rights could protect them, so they pulled the money out, sold it, dumped it on the market, and ran away with the money. So yeah, so this was like you can imagine like hundreds of people who were given Bitcoin instead of like USDT.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, but there were some good news, right? There were some people who tried to say, hey, there's still hope for Bitcoin. But and then there's also this news, right? Basically, this was from 4chan about an insider saying, oh, there's going to be a coordinated sell-off, right? A lot of people from China trying to sell off to dump the prices, which you can talk a bit later on with the panel here. But overall, it's just people dumping, like people like a lot of whales coming together, dumping the market to cause like whether this was like one person liquidate or cause like a mass liquidation. Right. And yeah, and we know like 53% drop. And then like even for ETH 56%. So and then just a list of like what people did, right? People either bought the dip or they said this is the end, right? And you have people like Justin Sun who bought like 35K. You have like Elon Musk that said diamond hands, Peter Schiff that said like I told you so. So yeah, so I'm glad to have all of you guys here. We do have a lot of people here. And for the panelists, I'm just going to introduce each one of them. So we start off, we have Bitcoin Jeff from CryptoCanada, and also I believe you said that you also run the group crypto for like
cryptocurrency questions, answers, news. I'm one of the co-admins.
Yeah, so Bitcoin Brodie like is one of the more like knowledgeable experts in this space. Right? And then next up we have Andrew Wagner from blockchaingaming.com. So I would say he's one of the OGs. I would consider him as like an OG in the space where like back in the days, I can know Andrew back in 2013, 2014 when he told me that he went to the bank, took out all of his money and told the bank to screw off. I'm going to crypto, and he went all into crypto. So a lot of people thought he was crazy, but I mean, it really paid off. Like when you got into like Bitcoin at like under $100. So yeah, and he has really inspired a lot of people to know that like you could like crypto is something that you could like it's realistic, it's practical. You can live on it, you can pay rent with it, you can like do a lot of stuff with it. So yeah, so right now Andrew's latest venture is to dig into the blockchain gaming space, which I personally think is a sleeping giant. Given how you have an NFT that took off, right? Blockchain gaming is still yet to take off. And then next up, Next up, we also have Christopher from Christopher Wong from Subtle Asian Crypto. So yeah, so I think you're one of the more active guys here and like sharing about it. And yeah, it's really glad. Yeah, I'm really glad to have you here. And then we also will have a few other people like joining us later on. Um, I was expecting to see Janelle to join us. She's a YouTuber and has been like promoting. She's been like telling people how to find like 10x opportunities, but these are like high risk shitcoin opportunities. So maybe she'll drop in halfway through, but whatever happens, yeah, I think it'll be fun. So just some house rules for the happy hour panel. So I do have a list of questions that I'll be asking you guys, and yeah, I'll once I post up a question, I'll pick like 2 or 3 panelists to answer, and you have 1 to 2 minutes to speak. You don't have to use up all your 2 minutes, but at 2 minutes you will get an overtime warning, and after 15 seconds you will be mute. So we do that. That is to ensure that everybody has a chance to speak, and we do want to be respectful of everybody's time too, especially for those of us who are coming like watching and joining us from the East Coast. So we do want to finish like within like 45 minutes to an hour for this panel session. And yeah, so that we can have time for the next part, which one of our community mentors, Robert, will be doing rapid fire analysis for the different coins. Where we'll be hearing for the panel, we hear the fundamental side, and then with Robert, we hear the technical side, and that is to ensure that that we all can become well-informed participants and investors in this space. So the first question I have for all of you guys, all 4 panelists with you guys is, did you buy, sell, or just hodl during the dip? So maybe start with Bitcoin Brodie.
Yeah, so I bought during the dip, found some really good opportunities, and seen some nice returns already. So, and I also did some what I call dip to dip. I took some of the coins that I was holding, had some altcoins that weren't performing before the dip. And so I took the opportunity to take those and flip them into other projects. And those moves seem to be doing very well. So I'm happy with the way things are going.
Yeah, dip to dip. That's that sometimes it is the hard thing to do is to decide when to like cut losses with like one underperforming coin and move to another. So yeah, so maybe next up I have Christopher. So yeah, tell us, did you buy, sell, or just hodl?
Yeah, man. So I saw a lot of, everything was down 50% plus. I loaded up on Bitcoin and DFYN on the first dip, and then I saw it dip further. So on the second dip, where it like close to the bottom, it wasn't exactly at the bottom, I picked up more Ethereum, Chainlink, and Bitcoin. So I bought a total of 5 times on the way down. And I think there's so much opportunity in terms of like really solid altcoins. So yeah, that's personally what I bought, and I'm just buying and holding right now. I don't leverage trade, so yeah, that's what I bought.
Smart. Yeah, and then next up Andrew. So did you buy or sell?
Yeah, so I run a little fund, but we focus on blockchain gaming related tokens. So I don't buy into Bitcoin or Ether exactly. But I did notice some dipping blockchain gaming tokens. We didn't have any fiat available because we didn't really sell right before the dip. But we took the time to like call some investors who'd been thinking of getting in and tell them now's a good time. And one we really picked out was Decentraland, mana tokens. It crashed pretty hard, more than I thought it should have. And also it reached a very long-standing upward channel, which is functioning as great support. So yeah, I got in some of those mana tokens and a couple other small coins.
All right, that's cool. So yeah, glad to hear that you guys all like bought the dip. It's contrary to what like human emotions would tell us. All right, and then maybe another question I want to hear from all you guys to see like how did this crash this dip or crash happen? Like, how did we get here? I'm sure some of you guys have different like theories, whether these are like conspiracy theories or just common like charting and such. So maybe start with Bitcoin Brodie. You want to share?
Well, there was definitely that, there was a lot of conversation about Bitcoin being oversold, the market being oversold. There was a lot of hype. There was a lot of the, I'll call them pop coins. You may call them shit coins, right? There was a lot of that going on. It started with the FUD. We saw some FUD going on. We also saw, Vitalik did that dump of the SHIB of $1 billion. I mean, it was really nice of him to donate it to India. So he picked the top of the market. So there's that. But it's like when you zoom out and you take a look at the market and how the classic Wyckoff laid right over this. So you get an understanding of how the market moves and why it moves the way that it does. And Richard D. Wyckoff was from the early stock trading, the 20s and 30s, and he developed a theory based on after watching, Rockefeller and a few of the other large money guys fleece the public. And so what we saw here is that we saw at the top of the market, we start seeing sell off. And so that, the quote unquote whales create a high supply of Bitcoin and start driving the price down. And that's where, we think we're buying the dip, and then we get even additional supply to create the momentum to drive the price down. And that's where you start getting the fear, and then the FUD, the media outlets joining into it. The Peter Schiffs, I was always right. And, you get these paper hands. And that I'll tell you, it's like I've been working really hard on my own resilience to the FUD and the fear. But it's like when you sit there and you watch your portfolio dive 60% in value, and you know that you're in good projects, and you're going, okay, this is going to come back, but you're still second guessing. So there's definitely a manipulation in the market in a current, but it was an oversold, very hot market. And we've got a lot of new retail investors who really got swept away. I feel sorry for anybody who lost money, who was inexperienced in this. So that's kind of, when I looked at the Wyckoff and how it classically overlaid on what happened, it really made me go, oh shit, sorry. I got to learn more about this and understand this. So I'm doing a deep dive into that. So I'll end it there. I think there was definitely, it's a classic manipulation, and we're going to see the market start recovering. So I'm looking to see how a Wyckoff accumulation may play out in this, but that's, my 2 cents.
Oops, I was on mute. But yeah, next I'll just hear from Christopher. And at the same time, I also start a poll, so you guys can also feel free to vote in the poll, whether you think we are out of the woods yet. So Christopher, you can go.
Yeah, for sure, man. So I think there's a lot of things that happen that you have to kind of understand. Number one, I was just taking a look at the liquidation chart because I did some stuff for my YouTube channel, and so on May 18th there was $8.56 billion in liquidations, right? So that came from over leveraged positions. You can see a lot of people were over leveraging at like 150x, 20x. And really what caused that is a culmination of a couple things, right? So you had all this FUD. So it started really with the Elon FUD. It started with the China FUD, with the environmental concerns. And then you actually saw whales selling at the top before all of the FUD actually started. So really what happened, it was in combination with the FUD and the selling, it started pushing the price down, and then it started accelerating so fast that it started liquidating everyone beneath it. Right. And it just was dropping so quick. Even the stop losses weren't enough. So everyone was just getting liquidated all the way down until we found the bottom around 37.6K ish range. Right. And you can actually see there's a lot of tweets going out, and also a couple of people have come forward that used to like they print fake news. They essentially just told us like how they were doing the manipulation. I don't know if anyone else saw that, but that was like some mind-blowing stuff. Like you can see that like he literally was working, and they would print fake news to low tier news outlets, and then they would slowly scale that up, and then as the FUD hits, everyone else starts selling, and then all the whales just reaccumulate at the bottom. If you look at the on-chain metrics and you look at who's buying at the bottom, you can see there's hundreds of thousands of Bitcoins just being bought up at the 35K level and lower, right? So it's clear that there's some sort of manipulation. People have come forward. It's clear as day that people have been manipulated essentially into panic selling at the bottom, right? This is why I never use leverage. But yeah, I think those are the main points as to how we got here. Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, thanks, Christopher. Yeah, clearly, I do believe that manipulation played a huge role in what just happened. So next up, Andrew, do you want to share?
I agree with a lot of what Christopher said, or at least some of the advisors to our blockchain gaming fund agree with that, because it seems like a lot of people were getting greedy and a lot of liquidations occurred, and that caused an otherwise less extreme crash to be way more calamitous than it otherwise could have been, because when they get liquidated, they just keep driving the price down further. And our advisor is a bit of an institutional investor, I'd say, and he's kind of laughing at retail investors at this stage. He thinks it's silly that people would use that much leverage. I also don't use leverage unless absolutely necessary, like you got a margin to short sell if you ever want to do that. But I avoid scary things like that in general. And I think some kind of correction was definitely overdue, but the market was sustained by these retail investors who weren't always behaving in a manner that I would consider rational. And that they're not following fundamentals. They're not, they're just buying Dogecoins and whatever they feel like suits their fancy. And when that occurs, when there's less fundamentals, like people using a utility token, for example, then a simple thing like Elon Musk tweeting random nonsense can have a more drastic effect, I think, because the types of people who are driving this run are very Reddit and Twitter driven types of investors who just probably woke up and saw on Twitter, Elon's against us now. And, a good way to avoid that, if just is to avoid hype driven coins and projects, in my opinion. But I think a lot of people are learning that lesson on their own.
Yeah, I think what we just saw last week and the week before was a huge lesson for people who have been diving into all these meme coins and such. I mean, it's when you don't have fundamentals, the bottom will fall out, and when the bottom falls out, you're going to be in a world of hurt. So next question we have, right? So, which is probably a question a lot of people are probably wondering as well too. Is the bull market over? Is this a dead cat bounce or not? I'm also going to share the results from the polls. It seems like a lot of us feel that Bitcoin is going to be consolidating around the 35 to 45K range. We do have in second place people who feel that Bitcoin is going back up to all-time highs, and then we only have one person who thought that this is just a dead cat bounce. So it seems like a lot of people here are quite optimistic about where Bitcoin is going. So let's go on to this question. So is the bull run over? Right? Is this a dead cat bounce, or are we going to are we still on our way to 70K, 100K, and so on? So this time let's start the other way. Let's start with Andrew. Oh, you're on mute.
As I've said before, I do try to focus on blockchain gaming tokens, although there is some correlation between any crypto currency market and Bitcoin going up and down. But this time, I still feel long-term bullish. This seemed to me like something of a correction because it didn't seem, I don't know, it seems like a lot of institutions and large-scale investors are not calling it quits or getting scared. A lot of plans are still going forward that were not canceled. And in that regard, it seems like the people who've lost and got corrected, if that's a verb, like to be corrected, were the retail investors. And that sucks for them, but I think won't stop the long-term momentum. You could be concerned maybe about things like China saying things, but I don't think that's meaningful because what's the story? The boy who cried wolf. Like the first time you banned Bitcoin, it kind of freaked me out. But the fourth time or the fifth time you banned Bitcoin, I just stopped listening to these warnings. And you know what I mean? It's not meaningful at some point. Maybe the growing development of state-backed coins or something. One thing I could say is I see declining Bitcoin dominance, market share dominance overall, and ETH rising relative to Bitcoin. But this doesn't necessarily mean Bitcoin will crash. This could imply just more growth elsewhere, not being cannibalized from Bitcoin. So it's not, I can't predict whether that will be the case or not, but I do think that a declining market share will occur.
I see. So next up, let's have Christopher.
Yeah, for sure. So I think that if you compare this correction, first of all, to previous bull runs corrections, like, you know, in the 2017 bull run, most of the corrections were anywhere from 29 to like, I believe it was like 42% ish, give or take, around 6 or 7 times, right? So a lot of people were thinking that, oh, we just hit a 53% correction from top to bottom if you go wick to wick. So a lot of people are like, oh, there's no way, we have to be in a bear market, right? But if you look at the charts, like literally 2 weeks ago, we were at all-time highs. So in essentially in 2 weeks, we fell from all-time highs to levels not seen since roughly January, right? So in my opinion, we're still in the bull run, and this is the reason why. There's just all this coordinated FUD at the same time. It seemed too good to be true that it was dipping that hard that fast. And yes, a lot of retail investors did capitulate, and then that just got bought up by the whales. So, and if you look at all these on-chain metrics in terms of like how much volume is being processed on Ethereum and Bitcoin and all these other coins, the only indicator that I saw that was maybe a market top indicator was the pi cycle indicator, but that was the only one that like had crossed. All these other indicators were not indicating some sort of top for the bull cycle. And if you actually look at the candles for example, the 19th, that's when we had the lowest at about 30K. And then the next printed low was on the 23rd was about like 31,000K. So we're printing higher lows. I do expect us to kind of range and consolidate in this kind of high 30s, low 40s until we really break. Personally, I think it's 42,000, which is the previous level of resistance. Right before we dropped like a rock. That's where I think we'll kind of consolidate, and until we get a clean break, there's still a lot of consolidation that could happen for months or weeks, depending upon buying and selling pressure.
All right, and then next up, Bitcoin Brodie.
So we're definitely the market. The bull run's not over. I mean, if you take a look at previous runs, we're usually looking at somewhere around 18 months after the halving. So we're just over a year from the halving in 2020. The bottom out somewhere, depending on which exchange you're looking at, the 28 to 30,000, and then coming up and doing the automatic recovery. I think that's kind of where we are right now, and I think we're going to see go back down and test resistance, bounce up, test support, and then we may see a drop down below the 30,000. Like, and this is going to be one of those micro flashes. So it's to test support. And then I think we're going to start seeing a bounce up, and we're going to start seeing it moving and doing that kind of sideways thing for a little bit to come up and bounce off the testing the lower support, upper support. And probably 6 to 8 weeks is kind of looking at the way the market's moving. I think, as Andrew was saying, we see Ethereum. If you look at the Bitcoin versus Ethereum charts, you can see that Ethereum is still showing really strong dominance, because if we look back when, the January, February timeframe when Bitcoin was around 30 grand, Ethereum was $1,200 to $1,500, right? And so looking at Bitcoin sitting at $2,800, it's telling us that Ethereum sitting at $2,800 versus the Bitcoin at 38. It's telling us that Ethereum's in a really strong position. And I think we're going to continue to see Ethereum's getting a lot of really good press now because of the layer 2 scaling solutions, right? So a lot of, Matic has done extremely well. It just escaped me, the NFT platform. I know Ecomi announced a partnership with, so they're bringing their NFT product over to Ethereum. So there's a lot of adoption going on, with the whole Solidity thing. So we've got a lot of people doing really well. And I think also with the EIP 1559 in July, with the token burning, I think that Ethereum's positioned to really rally strong. So I think that, that 6 to 8 week time frame, we're going to see the bull market continue and surging to higher highs. That's my thought. I think that this whole market segment, the last 120 days, if we go back to January 26th through to May 18th when we saw the crash, so that whole time period was the setup for going to higher highs. And this mini market crash that we've had is getting rid of the, quote unquote, the paper hands, the retail investors who are nervous. With the amount of money that moved into the market just before we bottomed at the selling climax and the amount of acquisition that was done, I don't think if we were in a bear market, we would see that type of buying now, because in a bear market, we would expect it to be going to much lower. So definitely, I'm feeling bullish about this. And I think that our recovery is going to come fairly quick. And just looking at, Ethereum back at $2,800, which was weeks ago, a dream for an all-time high. So I definitely.
Yeah, that's very good point there. Yeah, I mean, even if you look at a lot of on-chain data, look at where the money is flowing. Just last week alone, we were noticed that there's a lot of stable coins, a lot of Tether, US dollars, basically people moving fiat into these exchanges, and then they're leaving the exchanges in the form of Bitcoin, ETH. So it's obvious that the whales are loading up. Nobody is selling right now. They are still loading up, and it's a sign of we're still early, or maybe not early, but we're still in a bull market, because usually the whales would be the first to leave, and then everybody start leaving if we're in the bear market. But so here's the next question I have for all of our panelists here. Is a huge question. Everybody probably want to know is if crypto is recovering, what is the best token to be riding on? Should we be hodling onto Bitcoin? Should we be hodling onto altcoins? Should we be hodling onto mid caps, micro caps, or small caps, or meme coins? So maybe let's start for this time. Let's have Christopher start us off.
Yeah. So personally, I bought both Bitcoin and altcoins, but for example, Polygon, I don't know if you got Matic/Polygon has been absolutely just ripping. And There's if you ever look at which coins, when there's a big correction like this and you're looking at coins that have not fallen as much, Matic and Polygon, DFYN network, and for example, like Chainlink, all have just didn't fall as much, and they recovered much quicker than everything else, especially Matic. So I think that mostly large caps are going to be a good play here that are at a big discount, like the big blue chip projects. You know, your people like Aave, Cardano, Ethereum, right? These are all going to be good plays. I mean, if you're underexposed on Bitcoin, I would say it's still a good time to pick up some Bitcoin as well. It's still at what, like a 40% discount, 41.5% discount from all-time highs. Honestly, any buy in this range is really good. But personally, I think that we're still going to be seeing a lot of consolidation. So I tethered up a bit just because I think there are more buying opportunities that will be coming. So I'm mostly going to be focused on like blue chip altcoins for me. I've upped my Bitcoin exposure now from the last correction. So yeah.
All right, and then next up, let's have Andrew. So,
well, obviously, I'm a little biased as the blockchain gaming guy, but I'm going to tell you altcoins, but I don't have a particular size in mind. I like to focus still on ones that. No, I look at fundamentals. I want them to have a utility. So in gaming, all NFTs have utility for the most part. They're not art. And, the coin must in some fashion. And I'm a stickler for token economics. So it should be, not, I don't want to see a lot of coins floating around, not dumped. Like the percentage circulating, I like that to be high. Things like that. But, for the most part, I'm looking at games that will grow because, even in the bear market recently, we gained 1%. That was what happened to our blockchain gaming funds. And it's because we're buying things that you need that token to play the game, and people are playing the game. And that's an unavoidable economic reality. So yeah, and it's also, keep in mind, a low-hanging fruit at this stage. If you're considering the order in which industries will be tokenized and blockchain technology integrated with them, video games are a first mover due to their nature of being virtual, right? It's much more difficult to enforce blockchain ownership of cars or homes than it is to do so in a virtual world. So we're going to see the game industry basically as a first mover. It's a low-hanging fruit, so to speak.
that's a good point. Oops. And then next up, we have Bitcoin Brodie.
Yeah, so I kind of echo what Christopher was saying. I think the high cap altcoins with some really good opportunities, and the Matic is just gone crazy. I mean, to have it bounce down below $1 and it's back up, it's sitting in the 240 range. So if you pick that up on the dip, you get a 300% return that quickly. And there was a bunch of alt projects that did that. The gaming NFT space is definitely going to blow up. I agree that it's if we take a look at what happened during this period with COVID, right? The amount of revenue that flowed into the traditional online gaming industries. We won't talk about GPUs because that's what us miners buy. But if you take a look at all the gaming PC sales and the likes of that, that we see that in the online space, and so this entire online gaming on the blockchain, I think, is huge. And you take projects like Elio Trades and his super farm and the ability to interconnect, if you can get an adoption so that you can connect these gaming worlds, and you can carry your goods along with you as you go from game to game. I think it's that the ability. That's one of the things is like, I know I watched my kids when they were playing different games, and they spend money and they're buying these things that are on this gaming platform. And if the gaming platform changes or goes away, all their assets go. So I think that, having assets tied to a blockchain where you actually own them and you can move them out and move them around, I think that, it's kind of the Ready Player One type of world. But when we come into, Bitcoin is always going to be a solid performer. I think that the Bitcoin is for people who aren't necessarily going to look at the market and be a trader. They just want to be a long-term investor, a hodler, right? So you buy the Bitcoin, and it's something that you're going to look at in 10 or 15 years. And we hope that, that's a good thing. When we get into the altcoins, I think we just got to keep our finger on the pulse and make certain that things continue to go the way they're going. There was a lot of really great news about what Cardano's doing. We were hoping, I'm not an XRP fanboy, but it was like I watched that very closely as the SEC versus XR Ripple is going on, because if you get a flip on that, if XRP comes out ahead, Ripple wins, which it's kind of looking that way. They could have a real explosion in price. So that really could be an opportunity to look at. I think that, there is a lot of really good projects, and it really comes down to what your comfort and knowledge level, and then who are the people in your circle that are experts in those spaces. I've got one guy who's like huge into these meme coins and stuff like that. And it's like, I don't understand it. I don't want to trade those because I don't have the time to follow, but it's like, he's been doing very well with them because that's his space. He's into the social media. He follows it. He keeps an eye on it. And, so I said, good for him. That's a different technical analysis, right? So I think that getting in, holding Ethereum, buying and accumulating, and doing the same with Bitcoin is you'll do well, and also in the top 10 coins. But keeping your eye on the movers and shakers, what's being built on the Polkadot chain, right? So you get the Polka Starter and all the stuff that's coming along there, and the introduction of the smart contracts and adoption. And also what we're seeing, Cardano's got a lot of promise. I got kind of disenfranchised with Charles Hoskin talking a big show, but being sort of like the Ethereum fanboys. It's like things are going really well, but we can't deliver on our promises. We can't hit those delivery dates. We just can't, haven't been able to do that. But let's see what happens this summer, because if they're actually hitting the smart contracts, the Cardano world could blow up huge. So we've got a lot of projects that are going to start blowing up in the space. And I think the big thing for us to remember is that less than 1% of the people in the world are involved in the crypto space. $2 to $3 trillion of money is chump change, especially when you look at the derivatives market that are it's quadrillions of dollars. So there's going to be a lot of new money flowing into this space. I think this summer we'll see a lot of new money coming in, and we're going to continue to see that as we start seeing these blockchains really get to utility. And it's like in Canada, we're seeing the banks just decided to give themselves a raise again, and we as consumers, there's nothing we can do about it. We're sitting at near 0% or a negative on the returns that we could get if we were in the traditional banking system. So we're looking for returns. I've had money in the stock market, moving that money and balancing my portfolios between crypto and this. So I think that the blue chip cryptos that we're seeing are going to be solid performers for us in the long run.
All right. Speaking of which, I'm actually, I do have to cut you off a bit here because we do have the next question. We're supposed to keep it at 2 minutes, but that was a lot of good information you share. But yeah, maybe this is a question you could that goes along the lines of like new capital, getting in a new project. And I know that you've done a lot of research. You published a lot of research. For Bitcoin. So this is a question for Bitcoin Brodie. So maybe you can share a bit within 2 minutes. Let's try to keep it within 2 minutes. So maybe I'll give you 1 more minute to 3 minutes. What do you look for in a project to determine if it has potential, if it's a potential home run? You are muted, so I'm gonna have to.
Just starting my timer here. So I think the big thing is that with a project, I want to go and take a read through all of the information that the group has published. I want to look at their social media presence. I want to look at their white papers. I want to look at the blockchain technology that they're using. I want to see, who's behind the project. Look at the space and see, is this a real project? So some of the projects that I did research on, Matic was one of them. I was introduced to Matic in January, and I bought in a little bit somewhere in around the 2 cent mark, and then bought a whole bunch more at the 4 cent mark. And I'm glad I hodled on that one. So it's really looking to see that the project team is viable, and do they have an active community on social media, right? Because that's going to tell me, like, are they communicating with the public, and do they have the ability to promote themselves, and are they offering a true utility? I think that it's like listening to one of the YouTubers, Ivan on Tech. He talks about, a project has to have really good fundamentals, but in order for it to be successful, it has to have what he calls pumpamentals, right? So it's being able to ride on the shoulders of other giants if you're on the right blockchain. And it's also, do you have the social media presence to be able to and to confirm that you can actually deliver on your promises? I think that's a big thing. So I'm looking for track record as much as possible. I'll put money into some of the low cap coins if I think that they're going to perform well. So I'm coming up on the end of my time. So its research is really, is it viable? Does it have a good project behind it? Does it have a good community? And does it have good utility?
All right, that's good to know. That's a pretty good list. So next up, maybe let's have, I know Andrew does a lot of research in the blockchain gaming space. So he's probably looking at like dozens of like gaming coins. So maybe share with us what you look for in a project to decide if it's worth putting your investors' funds in.
Like I said before, I'm a stickler for token economics. I'm scared of low circulating supplies, like when a lot of coins can be dumped on the market at any time. I'm scared of pre-sales that raise more money than I think the value of that project is worth. I would say, if I were to describe it's very, what I'm doing is kind of Buffett-like, in that I'm evaluating projects and comparing their ask, except applied to games, and you can compare previous game economies, like Second Life. I looked it up, somewhere around $500 million to $2 billion, depending upon the metrics, is the value of that. So, you got to compare what they think they can deliver, what they promise to deliver, to the ask, and it has to be realistic. And there's also, when you're vetting projects, I look for interesting things. Like with the small cap tokens, like a really new coin, I recently got into Rouletka. Rouletka is a gaming token that is deflationary. And it's interesting because, so with tokens like this, if you check out their website, you'll see it's very interesting, cute, kind of funny. It seemed highly unlikely to me that this was a scam, because what kind of scammer would have this much artistic creativity behind his game? Because usually a scammer just uses buzzwords like high APY, 2,000%. And this looked like something he was obsessed with. Like, and it's deflationary, right? There will never, the supply will go down over time. So, I like to look for things, and the downside is when you ask for less and raise less, you have less money for development. That's true. I can see why some people go about raising a gazillion dollars, but you have to understand that the more money a project raises in the beginning, that can, to some degree, dilute buy support later on. By which I mean, like, if the ICO raises 500 million, yeah, I guess I'm getting time, but you get the point. I don't like greedy raises. I like interesting projects.
All right, right on time. Yeah. So and then next, I guess we have Christopher. So you have 2 minutes starting now.
Yeah, I mean, just echoing off of what Brodie had mentioned, I think for any project that I am looking at, I will literally look for the white paper, sit down, read it twice, bare minimum. Then I'll start to look at like some of the team members and look at their experience. One of the biggest things that I'll tend to look for is what are they trying to are they like a first mover in doing something, or are they trying to do something that no one else is trying to do? Because if you can capture that market, then you're going to go really far, right? The other thing you want to really look for is a really strong community that is very informative and are essentially long-term hodlers, right? You don't want to go into a community, for example, meme coins, where people are just kind of buying and selling them just based off of hype and no fundamentals, right? So I'm really looking at fundamentally strong coins. For example, one of the ones that I'm up really far on now is Thorchain, right? So they're multi-chain, and this is something that I've really got into recently. So multi-chain in terms of like, you can make native swaps on L1, so an LP without any wrap tokens, right? They treat their LPs as first class citizens. There's impermanent loss protection. They essentially just pay you in Rune if your LP versus HODL is less than if you weren't LPing. So there's a lot of cool things that you should be researching. Another thing is I would say that like YouTube is a really good reference, but don't get bogged down in like the shillers, because like I've made some investments from shillers. I'm sure we all have. The best investments I've made are the ones that I've literally just sat here for hours and just looked at the white paper and be like, wait a minute, this is absolutely mind blowing. For example, Matic, right? Like if you look at the Polygon SDK and their scaling solutions, it's actually not layer 2. Just FYI, it's a full suite of scaling solutions, right? They have optimistic and all these other things. So I mean, yeah, in general, just try to do a lot of research, essentially.
All right. So yeah, so those are pretty good points out there. White paper for sure, and then yeah, the language is a huge part, as Andrew mentioned. And like even from my experience, I know that if you see a project and inside a white paper, they make like claims on how much the token's gonna be worth by like May in 2 months, right? That's a clear sign that it is likely gonna be like either a pump and dump or a rug pull. So it's important to know like what to look at, like, and to keep track of what to look for like in projects. And then next up, I'm going to pull up the next question here, which a lot of us may be aware of like some of you guys may be aware that Elon Musk and Michael Saylor had a meeting this weekend. I believe it would have been at a Consensus conference. And they talked about, as you are aware, Elon Musk made some criticism about how crypto mining is polluting, it's not clean. And now that started like a flood. You have like organizations like Greenpeace, they are not accepting Bitcoin for donations. You have like a lot of like companies that are like just dissing Bitcoin and crypto just because of this one claim. So I would like to hear all your thoughts on this, I guess, on this issue, right? The whole thing about like crypto is polluting. Do you think it's real, or do you think this is like something that's like spun out of proportion? So let's start with Andrew first.
Okay, yeah, I think it's silly, all this pollution FUD, or at least, I should clarify. So, sure, there are some issues with Bitcoin, in my opinion. Um, Lately, there have been a lot of countries or organizations that have been using coal to mine Bitcoin just because, sometimes there's logistics reasons why that might occur. Like sometimes you have no way to get an energy resource to market and it's trapped where you mined it and you need to burn it to power something. So Bitcoin miners, why not? But in general, when they start attacking NFTs, I think it's highly uneducated because most NFTs don't use Bitcoin, and Ethereum itself is moving to a non-proof of work solution. And even without that, a lot of NFTs are using alternative chains like Wax or it's another one I like, Hive. And so in that regard, or Flow, Dapper Labs doesn't use proof of work. And so when you add up all these, I think an extreme minority, if not already, eventually an extreme minority of blockchain assets will be generated using proof of work. And, for Bitcoin itself and the future of proof of work itself, I do think we should be, I think it still gets a little more flack than deserved. The use of fossil fuels is concerning, but in most countries, like in Canada, I think people are intent on using renewable resources to mine Bitcoin with. And I guess that, I hate to use the word regulations on a crypto show, but maybe that is a thing that could be looked at because right now, in some places like in Xinjiang or parts of Africa where they have oil or coal that they cannot export very effectively, we need to think of ways to fix that, but we don't need to kill Bitcoin, I don't think. It's silly.
Yeah, those are good points. Next up, let's have Crypto Brodie. Your 2 minutes is starting now. You are on mute, so.
Oh. For some reason, my space bar quit working. So here we go. Is that Elon tweeting about this whole dirty energy being used for crypto and him launching 5 or 6 test rockets. And we think about the amount of energy that is expended in launching that. So I think we really got to put things into check. I think, as Andrew was saying, that we're seeing a lot of green energy being used in North America, right? It's the ability to take a container full of mining equipment and drop it out into an oil field where they're going to do burning off of natural gas because the oil companies just don't care about the natural gas. And that's normally what just gets flared off. So it's, seeing these miners going out there and tapping in with generators and pulling energy that way. And that, mining requires so little bandwidth to be able to do the blockchain. So I think that, we've got that aspect. And, the proof of stake versus proof of work, I think in Bitcoin, we're starting, where we see these layer 2 solutions like Immutable with Matic, SKL, and it's like there's so many entire sidechain blockchains projects coming into the Ethereum space to help with the processing of information. But I think the big thing is that, the proof of work on Bitcoin gives us the security for the system in this distribution model. And that we really need to understand that if we're going to see a $1 million Bitcoin, the security has to be maintained and the decentralization needs to be maintained. And I think some of the China FUD may help with more decentralization.
Yeah, that's I think there's been a lot of talks about how like China banning like mining could be a good thing for crypto because it now like pushes all the mining out of like China, where it's all done by like where electricity is all done with from polluting like coal plants to like countries like Canada, countries like Norway, where there's a lot of hydropower. And I also love how you mentioned about the oil wells and the natural gas. I think I saw like someone posting about it couple months ago about how he wanted to set up. He's like fundraising for that. But yeah, there's a lot of like other ways like to mine, and a lot of companies are like people are going about with renewable energy. In fact, I was listening in on the MicroStrategies conference a couple months ago, and they talked about the idea of going out to countries where there are these hydro dams that has been turned off, right? They want to turn them back on, set up a bunch of miners, and like create like local jobs for the people there. And they say that Bitcoin can be crypto mining can be a way of international aids, of like international developments. So, but yes, I'm not going to go on for too long. Maybe next up, let's have Christopher share.
Yeah, and Eddie, you hit on a really good important point there, where initially when this news about the Bitcoin mining being banned in China was a bad thing, but I was just googling the hash rate. So it says about 65% is in China, and so if we take away a lot of that hash rate and redistribute that across other countries, we're really increasing the decentralization of Bitcoin first and foremost, right? The second thing to note was that over 50% of the energy in China was using renewable hydroelectric power. So, I mean, really, is there a valid concern if you compare that to, for example, all the other things? So I have this other chart that I'm looking at here that's been circulating around Twitter. I'm sure you've seen it, where it's like Bitcoin mining is like here, gold, which is at about 250.
Feel free to share that if you want to share that.
Oh yeah. So here, yeah, put it in the chat here. And so Bitcoin's at about like I think it's roughly 250 yearly cost in billions of dollars. Gold mining is at about 500, so double, literally gold, just mining gold itself. Peter Schiff, that guy must love this. Is twice as expensive than Bitcoin mining. If you compare Bitcoin mining to the banking system, it's over 10x in terms of like the yearly cost. Now, given that is the full financial system of the world, right? We're not currently there with Bitcoin, but in terms of like efficiency, that's also supposed to increase as more nodes are in place to mine blocks and whatnot. So I really think that like this narrative of like environmental concern is not really valid in terms of the things that have been said. Yes, there is energy consumption. I'm also looking at this other article that says, for example, Bitcoin network is about 129 terawatts per hour, which is 80%, or basically the same as Norway, which is at 124 terawatts per hour, right? So it is roughly about the same energy uses as like a mid-sized country. But you have to realize that Bitcoin is essentially being the next like store of value. So if you really compare that to what it's worth and what it could be, it's essentially inconsequential. Having said that, do I think that this is like that conversation that Michael Saylor was having with Elon Musk and all these miners is a good thing? Yeah, I do. I mean, I think they're trying to be environmentally friendly. So I still think that's something that we should strive towards. But I mean, I don't really see this as like a valid argument with solid facts, I guess, in my opinion. So yeah.
All right, so yeah, that's pretty good. And then we're getting closer to the end, so so this is the last prepared question we have before we open up to everybody, to open Q&A. So the last question I have for everyone is yeah, so this is especially for those who are new, who are eager to learn this. I'm curious to share where do you get your sources, where do you get your updates and your news, and like who are the people you follow? So let's start with Bitcoin Brodie. You have to unmute
here. All right. Yeah. So for me, it's I'm following on Twitter, some accounts on Twitter, Discord. I listen to some of the big YouTubers. They've got some really good following, and they're, some of the projects are shilling, but there's some really good information there. And what I like is the panels like this, where you see these YouTubers bring in multiple guests, and then it's going and looking at them. I think there's a lot of information that's available on Twitter, and sometimes I just go down that rabbit hole and just follow links to links to links to links, right? Sharing in the online forums, so whether it's a Reddit forum or whether it's inside of a Facebook community, I think that you can find there. And it's like, I like when people come to me and say, hey, I found this project. What do you think about it? And I go, well, tell me about it. And they give me this synopsis, and I go, okay, let me go take a look at that. And then, so I look for a sort of a hive mind, right? I look for people who are out there in the trenches researching, like Christopher was saying, we're doing our own research and we find there's a need and we find this niche that fills it. And then I like to say, okay, let's go and take a look at that. And it's like a project, you can buy a bag on a project that is going to, whether it's 6 months or a year or several years, that there's going to be a good opportunity. So I think the hive mind for me, and looking at the influencers and listen to what's going on, joining panels like this is good because I get the ideas from others.
All right, thanks, Big on Brodie. So next, let's hear from Christopher. Where do you get your sources? Where do you get your updates and such?
Yeah, and I don't know if we're allowed to plug channels here, but my YouTube channel is Altcoin Asian. I'll drop it later. But yeah. I recently just started doing like YouTube videos. So in terms of information, the two biggest places that I'll get information is number one, Twitter. As soon as stuff happens, it's on Twitter, and there's meme lords and people are sharing and retweeting the crap out of it, right? So that's usually my first source of information. Number two, YouTube, of course, influencers. Really, they're doing the same things we are, because we're, most of us are YouTubers as well. So we're just trying to look at that information and disseminate that to our following and just let them know, like, hey, look, this is what's happening. These are my thoughts, etc. Another place that is really good, and I didn't mention this before, was Telegram. And what I don't mean like these scam groups. What I'm talking about is the Telegrams of the projects that you're actually invested in or want to be invested in. It's a good way to get involved with the community and just kind of get a sense of like what the community is like, number one, but also like the sentiment on the project and what other people actually think about the project, because that's really important when you're looking to invest in certain projects. So that's like my third source of information. And other than that, usually it's just me Googling things, or usually things I don't understand. But yeah, that's usually where I get my sources of information.
All right, and then next we have Andrew.
Pretty similar, yeah. Lots of Google. By now, their robotic hive mind kind of knows that I'm into blockchain games, I guess, and those news stories will just kind of appear on my feed if I go to Google. But I also moderate a lot of blockchain gaming social media groups. Like we have a Facebook group, a subreddit, a Telegram, a Discord. So I often see news posted in those. And as Christopher said, I think it's a great idea to be in the Telegram or Discord of any project in which you are invested, because that will inform your decisions with your coins on that. I lurk, and for me, it's Discord, right? Because I'm into gaming tokens. Kind of varies. So I think a lot of even non-gaming projects use Discord for some reason. I only use it for that by now. It's just getting popular. Yeah, pretty standard stuff like the other guys said. We also have our own wiki. So if you have to if you're looking for information or facts about games, I cite sources and stuff like that to all the different various news sites. There are dedicated ones like blockchaingamer.net, I think is one, egamers.io. There's various publications and even more dedicated to the general cryptocurrency community at large. And I get news from some of those from time to time. But it's also, you got to be mindful. Some of them are taking sponsored stories. So you can usually tell, though, come on, it's usually pretty apparent to me when that story is being incentivized somehow.
Yeah, these are good insights. So yeah, thanks for all three of you. And then now we can start the next part, which is or at least to see do we have any like open any Q&A questions from the audience? So feel free to just type in the chat if you have any questions. We can probably take like 2 questions so that we can finish the section on time and still have time for the rapid fire analysis. So feel free to type any questions you have, or I'm going to also check our YouTube channels as well too to make sure we didn't miss any questions there. I know we have a number of people watching right now.
Oh, it looks like someone has a question here from Chris Collott.
Yep.
So I just bought my first crypto last weekend. What do you recommend? Oh well.
So maybe we can start with Jeff. You want to talk about it?
Wow. First thing I recommend is make sure you understand what this entire blockchain is about. Go read the Bitcoin white paper, get some education about what blockchain is, why we're investing in this space. And then, it's really for you to be clear on what your plan is for getting into this space, right? Is it financial? It's like you want financial freedom. Is there something like that? And then make sure you get a clear strategy for this. This is a very highly speculative market, and everybody's hopping into the space. They want to make a lot of money really fast, so they're willing to follow the crowd. And these cliffs pop out and rugs get pulled, so you want to be really careful. So have a really good plan, a really good strategy, and just follow that and execute robotically on it. And look for people who are talking about blue chip projects that are going to take you somewhere over a period of time. Be patient and be persistent.
All right. And then next, let's have Christopher, and then after Christopher, be Andrew.
Yeah, Chris, nice to meet you. I'm also Chris. But yeah, in terms of like, I don't know exactly which crypto you bought last weekend, but at the bare minimum, if you're new to this space, personally, not financial advice, of course, I would get into at least Bitcoin and Ethereum first. That's personally what I did. I actually bought Bitcoin first, then Ethereum. Then I started to cascade into the blue chip large caps, and then I went into like the medium and then the really small caps, right? Again, most of my portfolio is still like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and like larger blue chip projects, and then I have like maybe 25% in like small cap projects. But I'm mostly weighted again on those big battle hardened coins, right? Having said that, it's always good to do your own research, like Brodie was saying. You really want to be understanding and have a goal as to what you're trying to achieve. A lot of people, again, are trying to make money really fast, and usually what ends up happening is you start using leverage, and then you get liquidated. Or let's say you win big and then you put even more leverage in and you completely get liquidated. So personally, don't use leverage again, but yeah, I personally, I just buy and hodl really and then take profits where I need to be. So yeah.
Oh, Andrew.
So I just wrote a whole bunch into the message there as updated information.
So Andrew, do you want to have any advice for Chris who bought at the top?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. No, I mean, my advice is similar to the advice of the other panelists, really. Do your research. Sometimes I find it frustrating when I hear of someone who owns coins that they understand very little about what they are or how they work. And I also agree about avoiding leverage. You should be focusing on buying something that you think will grow in the future and become something. Don't chase things that are already growing. But your question seemed kind of open-ended to me. I don't know what specific coin you've got, and I don't know how to tell you what to do with it, but I think the general advice you've heard is pretty good.
Yeah, he actually bought Ethereum, and he had mentioned that he was trying to learn how to mint an NFT. So that's right up your alley, Andrew.
It depends what platform you want to use. So NFTs right now, which one you should mint on varies by gas fees, and that's life for NFT
Gas could
producers.
be cheap now, especially now.
Yeah, Matic. There's a lot of projects that are, for example, Super Farm, and a lot of projects are also on like Immutable X, I believe it's called, that are like NFT plays that basically have zero gas. So if you're looking for somewhere to mint an NFT, I'd probably start. I don't think Super Farm does it now, but I know some of those other projects do. So that's where I would start, because
Well,
gas
there's
fees are terrible.
I'd also say like some are easier to use than others. Like ones like OpenSea, probably anyone can pretty simply open an account and put an NFT there. Sometimes I like Wax. Wax has, even with current gas fees being lower as they are, Wax is still cheaper. So if you want an NFT that's worth like $1, I see a lot of people doing that on Wax, but Wax is more technically difficult to sell on. You set up a Wax store requires a more involved process. Like there's some, I've been looking into it, but if you're not technically inclined, you're going to find it easier to use OpenSea.
Yeah, and also another big thing to consider is you have to look at like your audience, right? Where like who you're trying to sell to and how big is the audience. Like, if you like, there are like a lot of platforms that a lot of chains that are starting up with NFTs, but the majority of people who are in NFTs right now are in Ethereum and maybe on Wax. I know Binance tried to start an NFT. Like there have been a couple like projects that try to launch NFTs there, but there's not a lot of people there. Most people on Binance are mostly like moon boys, people who buy like Safe Moon and get wrecked. Right? They don't care about like aesthetics and such. They just want to make a quick buck. And then you also have like people on the Tron network. I know Tron, they also have NFTs, but most people on Tron are mostly scammers and like poor people, like people who can't afford like to spend like gas fees, and they are mostly like scamming people, and which leaves like basically like ETH as like the only network, right? Maybe also Matic, but right now not a lot of people are on Matic right now. So you do have to look like do your research into like different different chains and take into consideration like all the different considerations before like deciding where to mint it there. And also I also told most people like who want to get the NFTs that at the end of the day it's really about like NFTs like you shouldn't consider NFTs as like a way of like getting like new customers. You may get new customers in the process, but most likely it's more of an additional channel for you to monetize like the audience, the clout, the influence you have already. And that's how most people use NFTs. It's usually like people who are well known already. They have a lot of followers, and these followers that happen to be in crypto. Right? Then they'll say, "Hey, like check, get this." But that's just my observation. So yeah. So I think we are at about like 8:24. I do want to like we are out of time.
I'll just say one more thing.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is Chris. Yeah. So I got an invite to the foundation app, and I figured out how to mint everything, and I actually know the collectors that are willing to spend. Like this guy just bought 40 ether, 42 ether on these ridiculous images, but I know he likes the kind of work I produce. So how do I target that when a lot of the collectors use Twitter, and that's not a platform I ever really used. My platforms that I used were Facebook and Instagram for a long time, so I have a decent following that. But now I'm having to navigate Twitter for the first time.
Yeah, a lot of crypto users, they are on Twitter. I mean, it will take time for you to get the hang of it, understand the hashtag systems, and like know who the big people are. And sometimes like, I mean, there are a lot of guides out there on how to get started on Twitter and how to like get a hold of influencers. Because I think at the end of the day, if you have something that has a great value, great merit, you want to get the attention of the influencers, or whether this is you want to join in on the conversations they are having, right? Retweet them, even just like private message DM them, right? And if you can get one of them to start talking about you, it'll be a lot easier because you have others that will start talking about you. But expect to do like learn a lot more in the space.
It's a slow game then.
Yeah, it's a game.
100%. 100%. I would like, I didn't even know how to use Twitter previous, like, I think like 6 or 7 months ago. And I just started posting a bunch of content, right? Well, you just got to start, man. Like that's the easiest. That's the best thing I can tell you. Just start and try different things. You're just going to have to learn. Everyone else has to do the same thing when they go onto a new platform as well. So it's, and if you already have like a following from somewhere else, you can bring that following onto Twitter and be like, hey guys, like I have a new Twitter, go follow me on here. And then, you'll get some more followers, and you just kind of have to generate content from there and just start to build, man. And then you can kind of funnel that down into your NFTs. That's what I would personally do to start getting some exposure. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you very much, guys.
Yeah. So I think that's all the time we have for, that's all the time we have for the panel part. I do appreciate all the panelists for joining us, and hopefully for all of you guys who joined, you guys learned a lot, and especially on the fundamentals side. So I'm gonna share this last slide that shows you how can you get a hold of these guys. It's not disclaimer. It should be how to more on our panelists, right? So more on our panelists. So this slide will show you, like, if you want to follow them, you can find them. So Bitcoin Brodie has a YouTube channel. Christopher has Altcoin Asian. He also has a Twitter account, which he mentioned brief. He said he's been on it for the last 6 months. And then Andrew's with blockchaingaming.com, which has a Facebook group of around 2,000 people, and a growing YouTube channel where he does some other blockchain gaming based talks. So do want to thank everybody for all the panelists for joining us, and we're going to start our next section, which is the altcoin reports, where we will feature our trading technical mentor, Robert Paddock. So I'm going to give you screen sharing privilege. So let me know if you're ready and whether you can share your screen.
I'm ready to rock and roll. Can you hear me loud and clear? I can share the screen. All systems are go. Initiate rockets. No, just kidding. I'm going to go ahead and share my video too so you guys can see me. Let's do that first. And so welcome everyone. This is such a great panel. I've enjoyed it a lot. You guys are very knowledgeable. It's a pleasure to hear each and every one of your opinions about where you see the market. It's so cool to see varying opinions, right? You get a better value that way, and so cool to share all your knowledge and all your skills with the group. So thank you for all for doing that. I'm going to be really quick here. I just want to go over a couple things with, we've done a little bit of fundamentals. I'm just going to touch a little bit on the other spectrum here, more on the technical side, meaning the technical analysis side of the charting of the prices. Yeah, no, it's not over. This is the cool part here, where we're going to go over actual charts of some coins. So for however little time we've got, we'll go rapid fire here as quick as I can. So I'm going to just dive right into it for time's sake. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Robert Paddock. Right off the top, disclaimer, I am a contrarian investor. So I like what I'm hearing from the panelists, especially Andrew. He mentioned, don't go for the coin that's just going up, because you might be a little bit too late for that. So that's a great thing Andrew mentioned. So definitely, I am also, I should put a disclaimer. Here's Mr. I told you so. I got the privilege of meeting him. So I just want to let you know, I don't go favorably all in on gold or all in on crypto. I'm kind of like, diversify a little bit, have digital and physical tangible assets. But I have traded for a long time. I've been trading 27 years. I have won first place in the world in a stock trading competition. And I have a high accuracy, which is why I've been invited to speak at convention centers, talk about Bitcoin and blockchain for now 4 or 5 years. I've even written articles. Here was one when I talked about Bitcoin hitting $1,000 back in early 2017. So definitely, I have a bit of experience when it comes to trading and teaching trading. And this is something I like to share as a passion of mine. I do have here a lot of presentations I've done, how to become the top 1% of traders. So now we are talking about timing the markets in terms of the charts. So I do like, to mention since 2017 about the regulatory environment. That is something that has enabled me to be somewhat more accurate. So those are great inputs with all of the fundamental analysis. I just want to mention that there was a law that was trying to get passed through the government in the United States. It's called Bill S3571, or the Banking for All Act, which was saying that this bill requires the Federal Reserve in the US to have all member banks provide digital pass-through accounts, i.e. digital dollar wallets, to residents and citizens and businesses all in the US. So in other words, forcing everyone to use crypto. You can check this up on the website itself, congress.gov. It's Bill S3571. So I'm not going to read this, but I just want to point out one clause here. Section 5B1 said all Federal Reserve banks shall not later than January 1st, 2021 make digital wallets available to all residents and citizens of the United States and businesses. So they didn't pass that. However, it shows you their intention, right? So this is kind of an important deal, that it shows you that the government side is thinking about this. Then we've got the central bank side saying they're doing it, regardless of what the government's saying. So they're already testing this Fed Now so-called system. This is something I'm going to be keeping a close eye on. Why? Because I paid attention to the regulatory environment over the last 5 years, which has helped me be extremely accurate in timing the charts. A lot of the charts didn't know what to do, so they were driven by these fundamentals of the regulatory environment. So we're not scared to talk about the regulations here on these calls. Definitely, this is something that could have a big influence if you get a coin that is instantly in real time transacted. No confirmations needed for 6 confirmations for 1 hour. So that could have an important role to play. Just want to point that out before we do go into the charting. So here I was on Facebook watching Saturday Night Live with Elon Musk. Even his mom, after she talked and they went to commercial, we had a big crash. So I was watching the charts. So it's definitely good to pay attention to fundamentals. That's definitely something that you want to be on top of all the time. It is actually one of the 4 main things you do when you analyze coins is, yes, the fundamentals, the white papers, the stuff Jeff was talking about. You want to research that and understand why that coin is going to be good. Then there's also sentimental analysis. What's the reaction of the public? So that's how they reacted to Saturday Night Live and the news. Then there's geopolitical, anything that world leaders or central banks even mention, or governments. Even you could put Elon Musk in that category. He's almost at the geopolitical category there. And what I'm showing here is that they're all equal. You want to pay attention to them on a regular amount of attention, because you can see that they can actually jump up and down from importance from one day to the other. Some days charts will be more important when there's a lack of fundamental news. So definitely that's something to pay attention to. And understand that it is important to see where's the direction of this analysis, because Elon Musk that week, he drove the price of Dogecoin. Now, whatever he was doing with his own Dogecoins, did he unload right before the buy the rumor, sell the news? Who knows? But he did feel like after 3 days, his high wore off, and he wanted to influence the markets twice in 1 week. So he made a comment about Bitcoin no longer being accepted by Tesla. So it's funny because he did open a Chinese factory for Tesla during 2020. So it's like he has some connections there and some influence perhaps in China. It's something to pay attention to. But I did disagree with one thing I heard earlier, that I don't believe that China is the boy who cried wolf, because I would liken it more to China being the wolf that can scream that they're about to eat the boy, right? So they're big enough, as Christopher pointed out, that they are 65 to 70% of the hashes the mining of Bitcoin. So that's important what they're saying about regulating that kind of thing. So definitely it is a driver of the whole industry. Now, I also agree with all the panelists that the dominance will die down for Bitcoin if such a thing happens. But I also agree that the diversification of the mining spread around, let's say, the world is going to be super good for the industry and even Bitcoin itself, when it's not just in one place where it can in the future be shut down by one government, right? You want to have as many governments involved as possible. So if one government says we don't allow it, it's like no big deal, even if it is China, right? When they go from 65% down to maybe 20% of all mining, that's going to be more secure. So definitely, I agree with all of the declining market share. We can actually see all these Chinese articles. One comment from China.
Go back a slide.
Yeah. So this was the.
Go back a slide for 10 seconds. I want to take a screenshot.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, that's 25% roughly. I just wanted to show that they're equal. You never want to rule out any kind of information, sentimental, fundamental, geopolitical, or technical analysis. It's sometimes one drives the other, or vice versa. But we also see now that the Chinese, if they actually come out with a new article tomorrow, that can throw off the charts easily. So you do want to be aware that can happen at any day or week. And it is something that they've already talked about. Now, who is Satoshi? Right? If we don't know where it originated from, let's maybe say the United States government or agency there created it. Then hypothetically, they would have a reason for China to be more skeptical about allowing it to be operating on a huge level. Or, there's going to be some countries with geopolitical tensions not being happy about the coin created by a certain country creating dominance. So there's some things definitely happening behind the curtains. Even in the United States, they're calling now for stricter cryptocurrency compliance with that stuff, with the taxes and stuff. So that's important to note. Janet Yellen, who was the prior chairman of the Federal Reserve, is now also discussing this. So I paid attention since the IMF in 2018 has been saying there will be, it's only a matter of time, central bank digital coins. That's something we're going to talk about in future. But today, I'm just going to go straight into the charts, because that, at the end of the day, we all agree that NFTs are the future. With Andrew, Christopher, first mover advantage. We had a poll earlier, which coins would bounce back hypothetically if Bitcoin hit 70,000. I don't agree with what most people polled. I was the one that said the small coin. Most people said the large altcoin would perform the best if Bitcoin hit 70,000. But going back with what Christopher said about the first mover advantage, it's the small coin that can have a bigger percentage gain when it creates dominance. So I actually voted on the meme coin or the brand new coin. But the brand new coins, there's going to be so many to choose from. It's like hitting the jackpot if you get the right one. But the meme coin probably is what the celebrities are going to talk about. Definitely got Elon Musk talking about the dominance. So the environmental factor this time around. So if you go CoinMarketCap, you go to global charts. This is the only thing I like to look now on this website, is they still have this great chart of total percentage of market cap dominance of all coins. And what you can see is we've been paying attention here since the 2017 era when Bitcoin took this nosedive. I was watching, is this the flippening? And I at that time said, you know what, even if it's not right now, it will eventually happen. It's only a matter of time that you can't have this one single coin around forever as the number one coin, just like we don't use Netscape Navigator as the web browser these days. So being first is not necessarily the biggest is the best. So this time around, we did see this. We said we're going to pay attention before we get into specific charts in the short term. What's going to happen? Will this have a dead cat bounce or be buy the dip situation, or continue to be the flippening this time around? That's important. So definitely we see that should this continue lower, then definitely the small coins can dominate, and in a big way. In percentage terms, it would be the smallest one, is the highest risk, but also the highest return. But I don't think that the big coins would make the biggest percentage gains, right? They would be the easiest to see. For sure they will go up, but not necessarily a lot. So compared to the tiny coin. So anyway, so that's pretty much that. So we've talked about all of those things. So now I'm going to go straight into the charts. And just realize that, we've had situations here where we see a lot of typical human emotions. So our markets are predictable with patterns. They overbuy, they oversell. This is why being a contrarian has done extremely well for me. And so we can see that, are we in the denial, panic, or capitulation phase? Or are we just in anxiety? So this is something interesting. Now, I want to quickly put in a disclaimer here. I am not a licensed financial advisor. In fact, no one on this call, in the chats, or the other panelists make themselves out to be legal, tax, or financial advisors. We are strictly education purposes only, entertainment purposes only. Don't hold us liable for any decisions you make. Past performance is not an indicator of future results, and do your own due diligence. So with that out of the way, we can also tell here some things. Yes, definitely, I agree that using too much leverage is a dangerous thing if you don't know what you're doing, just like driving a car without a seatbelt and going too fast. So you do want to make sure you get an educator, learn properly how to safely use a car or leverage before you do that, and always start off in a demo account. But one thing I don't want to forget to mention is also that you don't necessarily want to just realize that making money in one direction is the only way to make money in crypto. Most people do not realize you can make just as much, if not more money, when something drops. If it takes 10 years to rise, but 1 year to drop the same amount, you could make literally 10 years of profit in a single year in the downward direction. So I'm always telling people that hodling is one strategy. However, in the last week or two is a perfect example of why hodling would have not been outperforming trading, where you can actually short and profit to the downward direction. So this is actually something that I did a week ago, actually 2 weeks ago. It was actually, we were hitting record highs when I had actually anticipated, thanks to the charts, that we would see a decline. So I'm just going to share a quick minute here of a prediction that I made back when we were in the 50s. Okay, that we're going to see a 30 to 50% decline within 4 weeks by first week of June. And instead that happened within the first week, what we had said, right? So we can see here, I'm going to put the sound. So here we can see what we had said exactly 7 days ago, okay, on these rapid fire calls. Actually, last week was a more extended version. And what we had said last week. So let's go ahead and just play it. I'll have a more bearish signal. Okay, I'm keeping the lines parallel, and we can see that this could perhaps go to as low as 30,000. This is Bitcoin. So I am making a bold prediction here that we at this time cannot rule out the possibility of Bitcoin hitting 30,000. If you combine that with the coin market cap dominance, where Bitcoin is tanking and steadily declining and trajecting lower, there is a chance it could continue on that path. If it does, it could easily hit 30,000 still. I'm going to turn on my moving averages here since we're with this first MACD line. So my target is very realistically about 40,000 and possibly even actually this down here. Wow, that's actually 20,000. So we can't rule out 20,000 for Bitcoin. And this is perhaps going to be recorded and watched one day in the future. So hello future, when it's 20,000 again, because I have been spot on quite often, but I do super bold predictions and still have high accuracy. Just realized that, we do have all the three moving averages down here, 2 days or a month and a week. This is Ethereum. So by the beginning of June, it is possible we could see Ethereum at 2,000. These are crazy predictions, 50% off, but we'll come back to this in a month or two, I guess. Okay, so that's not looking good right now. Let's put on the Bollinger Band. It is in the upper half of the house. Okay, so the middle is right here. It is right here right now. So there's a chance it could somewhat decline, if not go even further to the first moving average. So I'm not looking very happy here. I do see a potential fresh cross about to happen on Ethereum. I'm not going to spend this much time on all the coins. I'm just focusing on Bitcoin. But we can see that could be coming. If that does materialize, I'm known for pinpointing tops in the markets because I can see these things happening. Now, there's no guarantee it will, but this stochastics will happen first, which will drag the MACD to do a fresh cross and perhaps drag the RSI back to closer to 50. And always look at the number up here. It's currently 70.
So going from 70 down to 50, I have to favor strongly the bear camp to the downside for Ethereum. Actually abort mission really quickly, because that's not a time when I would be staking. Yeah, we can see that's not a good timing for Litecoin either. And although this one is, what do we have? A decline and a decline. And it actually hit perfectly that level with the wick.
Okay, so you get an idea. This was last week, right? So we saw Bitcoin. We had called it when it was in the 50s that it could hit 30,000 was the correct answer. I had actually given 3 targets for that. It was actually 40,000, 32,000, and 20,000. So those are the numbers someone had asked in the chat today for the downside. So yes, a lot of people took a hit. I am not one of those people. I did not take any hit for the last 7 days at all. In fact, we're showing people that I had made a profit. So this is something that I hope to stress to you, that this is something very powerful.
You're on mute.
So as you can see, this is a chart we did just earlier this month. So you see right when we're in the upper 50s, we did get the 33% decline. We did get the 50% decline off of the peak. And that's usually when you start seeing posts all over the internet saying, you know what, I think that we're going to have a decline now. Well, it's already dropped 50%. And now you're talking about selling. Why not sell it when it was 50% higher from here, which was actually 100% higher from the current price? So definitely back into that global dominance chart at that first 2017 time, we were seeing, is Bitcoin going to fall below the cost of electricity? Okay, like 7,000 or something like this. We were at range of falling below the cost of producing the electricity to create 1 Bitcoin. We don't have that problem anymore. We're today at around 37,000. You know, that's more reasonable that you can afford to still create the electricity to create Bitcoin. That's not the issue. Today, in 2021, the issue is being the environmental coin that is shut down by governments or Elon Musk because it's not green enough. Okay, so pay attention to what he pulls out of a hat in terms of a new checking on how much electricity each coin is used to create. Also realize that staking can replace mining. We'll see what happens with that, and also DeFi. So we mentioned in that video, DeFi would be risky at that particular earlier this month in May, because you don't want to have a staked coin that is going to drop half its value. What's the point? Even if you're making 5, 10, 20% return, but you're minus 50 on the value of the coin. So definitely there's a lot of things to pay attention to, but definitely let's go into the charts, because that's what we came here for. And this is the beautiful thing that we can talk about here to see what's happening right now. All I want to stress is that it is not as difficult as you think to learn. This is a skill that anyone can do. You can see, for example, this may look overwhelming, but I don't want you to be panicked here. If you have an educator, a mentor that can show you how to do this, especially one that's been successful for decades, you can learn that when this indicator, for example, out of one of many indicators goes up, you can actually see this roller coaster of an indicator. When it goes up, typically the price will rise at that time. And then here, it's not guaranteed. No indicator is 100% correct at any time. But when you combine different research and analysis, you can see when are the odds of, having a good move versus a bad move. So definitely you can see this is not something that is difficult to learn. They make it sound difficult because they don't teach it in school. And the bank tries to just say, give me your money to take care of for you so I can charge your fees. And again, what are they telling you to do? Go long-term, because hodling is the name of the game for people that don't know how to trade, but it is a skill you can learn. You just have to want to do it. And when the student is ready, the teacher shall appear. So let's see what's going on. First thing we said we're going to look at is the dominance, right? Comparing Ethereum to Bitcoin. We had said that this had risen too much and it can easily be corrected. However, if it was out season basically 2.0, for like a permanent scale here, we could see that this could have kept rising. What did we see? It did recede back a little bit. So Bitcoin lost some ground to Ethereum. As we saw, the charts were screaming that this was way too high, and way too high, ready for a decline. These should be red arrows to the downside. And now we've actually recommenced a rise. So it looks like we have a Ethereum fighting hard, but then Bitcoin pushed back And now Ethereum is pushing back again. So it looks like Ethereum is now trying to regain where it was at this peak here, which is the highest in the last 3.5 years. Ethereum hasn't been this high compared to Bitcoin. So we can actually, for those people that are wondering about a flippening, that is possible. So now that we know that, we can look at the individual coins and see what's happening. So Bitcoin, right off the bat, daily candles. We had this decline. We saw this coming on the 12th of May, right around here. And we saw this dropping before it dropped. Why? Well, it's very basic. So you can see I'm just looking at these peaks here on the MACD. I'm just connecting the dots. And this is being recorded, so I'll use straight lines. And so what you can see here is a downward move. If I just replicate that on the chart, it actually pinpointed where the wick touched. Okay, when I say wick, that's just the bottom of the candle, this line. Okay, so you can see it touched exactly the target based on this divergence. This is something that is a highly accurate scale. Now, this is a time to be cautious, okay? From fundamental reason-wise, we covered that China can come out with a new piece of news any day. Elon Musk can come out with a piece of news any day. And also the charts are also somewhat confused. So at this current week, so what we can see is now that we've had this decline, that's actually created what we call a potential head and shoulders pattern. So this is something that Ed noticed also right away. We see here, this is going up, down, and now we have this entire bunch. Okay, so the part of the reason I saw the peak coming was this head and shoulders here. Okay, we saw that coming before it did. And then we saw this coming down. How a head and shoulders works very basically is the height of the head is the target to the downside. That played out exactly how it was supposed to. That's a done deal. And at this point, it's neutral. It's 50-50. Now is not the time to be asking, should I buy or sell? It should have been being on our rapid fire calls back here when we said it's going to go down. Okay, and it's not financial advice. It's just for education purposes, how to read a chart. Now that that's finished, that head and shoulder, this entire head and shoulder could be the head of another head and shoulder. So we could see a rebound here. We cannot rule out going back easily into the 50s, okay? If not record highs, 60s, okay? It is possible. But here is the kicker. We have to stay below this prior all-time high in order for this pattern to be intact and still bearish. If we can make a new all-time high, that is the only way. If this shoulder goes too much higher than the prior peak, then this entire head and shoulders is then aborted and we become extremely bullish again. That is the time when, of course, all the memes will come out and all the new people will start saying, I want to buy at the peak, and they will actually be correct. But they will not knowingly know why they're correct is because the head and shoulders is no longer valid. Okay, so right now, as long as we remain below all-time highs, we have a potential head and shoulders formed at potentially the head. I'm looking bullish now. Now, the question is, will it go up just this much and come back down to the neckline? Or will it go up this much? All of these are viable options. As long as, like I said, it stays below the prior peak, it is still possible. So currently, it is somewhat bullish. Okay, I have to side with the bull camp at this moment. We can see this is coming up. I've seen this at 32,000 that it would easily go to 38, which is almost where we're at right now. But I can see quite a lot of bullishness. So I have to agree with Jeff that, you know, we could see quite a bounce here. Possibly. This was too steep of a sell-off. Even when I did that video, I said within a month it can fall that much. It fell that much in a week. So that's a little bit too steep. If something falls too quickly, it can bounce up, dead cat bounce. If something rises too quickly, it can fall more easily than doing it slowly and steadily. So it's not building a solid foundation. So we can see some of these indicators are bullish. RSI right now is at 35. It can go up to 50. We could get a fresh cross here on the Bitcoin. And so that's a coin I focus a little bit on. But now I'm going to go super fast on all the other coins. We've got a fresh cross coming here. That could signal a buying opportunity. However, make sure you're using your stop losses. If you don't know what that is, just learn that. That's important to learn. So we want a stop loss here, and that's something you can do. So Ethereum is going to be similar here. We can also see a similar shaped. So we have a discouraging sign. This week, I am going to be on the sidelines. Why is that? I like to pick my best 5-10% of the time that I'm in the markets with the highest probabilities. This is a week where I'm exercising extra caution because we do see several patterns here forming like a head and shoulders, which would indicate what? Could be bearish. We could be going down. if that's the tip of the shoulder right now, but we don't know, first of all, if that is the tip of the shoulder. We could make a higher shoulder, which would be bullish, and it's conflicting. If we say it's going to drop right now down to the neckline, if we can see that right here, this stochastics indicator is bullish. I don't like having a bullish stochastics and potentially making a fresh cross on the MACD that's bullish. We have a neutral RSI, so that's useless. It's at 45. We can ignore that. And this is no guarantee even that the MACD will go up. So it's very tough to say right now. And so I don't like these being bullish, but these ones being bearish and potentially very bearish. So we got to be careful for all coins right now. A lot of coins copy each other. Let's have a look at a few others. And I'm just going to see how this plays out, because right now I'm not happy. Even if buying from here, I would rather buy, rather than the stochastics going up from here a little bit, I would rather buy it when the stochastics drops. So if we had a slight drop right now, I would become more bullish. From this extra sold off area, we have a longer area that the time period that the chart could rise for. So that would make me more happier to buy from down here. I cannot rule out that we'll have a little bit of a setback right now. And of course, the whales, this is important. So the whales may not be done feasting. That means they may be gotten a taste of loading up cheaper on the coins. They may want to do round 2 and get their buddies ready to buy even cheaper. Okay, so yes, long term, I believe record highs are very doable, but when will the whales feel like they got a full tummy before they go out in numbers to allow it to run all the way up? There's a chance they could try a little bit more to push it down, buy up some cheaper coins, and then skyrocket the price. You can't say that for sure, certainty right now. Be cautious with whatever China is saying and Elon Musk, and definitely that can't be something you ignore. And when you're trading, maybe you can look at the shorter time frames, like the 4-hour candles, right? And you can see right now on the 4-hour, we have a big conflict. This is the theme for today, and we can wrap up pretty much, because here we can see what is this stochastic, which is like a roller coaster lagging indicator. Right now, it's near the top, ready to go back down, more likely than not. The path of least resistance is downward. The RSI is completely neutral. 50.13 is like as neutral as you can get. So that's perfectly sideways. Okay, so if we have a stochastic that's going down, this looks like it may cross down, do a fresh cross to the downside on the MACD. However, we have a bullish upside down head and shoulders here forming. So that tells me that this could explode up easily to over $500 for Binance coin, for example. And the similar thing is going to be for some of the other top coins. So having a bullish situation where that upside down or reverse or inverse head and shoulders could develop potentially. So that is not agreeing with this downward move down here. That's a conflict that makes me wait it out. Being on the sidelines counts as a position. If you're a brand new trader, especially, get educated, get a mentor, watch some videos. You can reach out to me also if you want to get some resources that I use to learn. And this is something that we can see. It's very, very going to be close. Whoever ends up being right, we'll say in a week or two, see, I told you so. But I'm telling you, they're foolish, whether they make money or not, because it's hard to say if it'll go up, hard to say if it'll go down. So they basically lucked out if they made money by next week. Right now, if I just connect these, assuming this will come back down, just to give me some kind of an idea of a target, we can see here that right now this would indicate a bullish move. Okay, so we could go up to that line. That would agree with this upside down head and shoulders. We might come down a little bit still to create that right shoulder, although technically it's already counted that could be one, even if it goes up right now, a tiny right shoulder. So that is bullish, but the indicators on the lower indicators are bearish, so that's conflicting. So I'm not happy when they mix and match like that. I would stick this one out and wait it out. If I don't even want to zoom in on the 1 minute, because there's no point if the long-term chart doesn't tell me a distinct direction. This is Cardano, by the way. I'm probably running out of time here, so just notice, look, Binance coin, same pattern. I'm even going to draw it one more last time here. We've got an upside down head and shoulders, potentially indicating a move higher, but also this indicating a move lower. So just to make it clear, this is a green arrow and this is a red arrow. So we could go up, but we could go down. Conflicting messages. I can wait out until there'll be a better time when both agree. And now I'm just going to switch the coins. You can see Binance coin, same thing. Cardano, same thing. Upside down head and shoulders, but bearish stochastic. We got DOT, upside down head and shoulders potentially, bearish stochastic. So Ripple, same thing. Upside down head and shoulders potentially, but bearish stochastic. So that's the theme for this week. I'm sorry for you. I don't have a concrete direction like I did 2 weeks ago when I said, absolutely, I see a massive decline of 30 to 50%. This is a good time to spend some time learning, brush up on your vocab and stuff like that. So for those, because that's it for time. We're 1 minute short here. So if anyone does want to check out more charting like this, I am actually putting on a session this Saturday. It is going to be called Satoshi Saturday. Feel free to write down that link. That's how you can access the Zoom. There's no registration page as of right now. It is just strictly satoshisaturdays.live is the website to go straight into the Zoom call on Saturday. You're all more than welcome to be there. That's at 12 noon PST or 3 p.m. Eastern this Saturday and every Saturday afterwards. So this is something where I'll actually have a little bit more time to do like a whole hour of charting and showing some of the tools that I use, some of the tricks that I have, some of my systems and strategies and resources that have allowed me to become very highly accurate over the last 27 years. I've made every mistake, but I also learned what does work. So there's that. I'll have a different flyer here. It's the same presentation I have for live charting with me. It's free. SatoshiSaturdays.live. Make sure you're there, and I look forward to sharing with you some more. Not just directions, we'll go over more charts, but I'll explain some lessons of why I see not just the direction it'll go, how far it'll go, and why it'll go there. So with that being said, that's all for today I have to share. And just if you're interested to get a hold of me, you can feel free to book with me a free one-on-one. It's just robertpaddock.com. That's my schedule here. You can just click on book a 60-minute meeting. If you do like to sit down with me, no obligation. Just, let's chat. Let's see where you're at with your trading. Let's see if I can help you, because I do see a lot of people blindly using leverage, not understanding what they're doing. They need to be protected, doing it in a demo account, and learn how to mitigate their risks down to as little as possible before they go all in on any coin. So that's, again, robertpaddock.com, robertpaddyk.com. And again, Satoshi Saturdays, I'll be there. I hope you don't miss that, because it's going to be updating what we see. By then, we probably will have some indicators that do say something that agrees with the other indicators.
All right. Thanks for just giving us a quick rapid fire analysis of different coins.